The bloodline is cracking. Roman Reigns losing control. Jacob Fatu changes everything. Loyalty is fading fast. Chaos is taking over WWE. You ever notice how the strongest empires don't fall in one night, they fall in silence, piece by piece, until one day nobody can pretend anymore? And the real question is, when Roman Reigns finally looks around and realizes the bloodline isn't listening to him anymore, is it already too late to fix it? Because that's where this feels like it's going. Not with a bang, but with tension, missteps, side glances, and decisions that don't get corrected like they used to. And if you've been watching closely, you already feel it too. Something inside the bloodline is off. Not broken yet, but definitely not whole. And Roman? Roman Reigns doesn't look like a man standing on solid ground anymore. He looks like someone trying to balance on a floor that keeps shifting under his feet. And the worst part is, it's happening in real time. You know how this story usually goes. Roman walks in, the room goes quiet, people listen, people fall in line. That's been the rule for so long that we almost stopped questioning it. But lately that silence doesn't feel respectful anymore, it feels uncertain, like people are waiting to see what happens next before they decide how they're supposed to react. And that alone is dangerous for someone like Roman Reigns because control is everything, and control is exactly what's slipping. Let's talk about Jacob Fatu for a second because whether people want to admit it or not, the moment he entered the picture, the temperature changed. It wasn't just another addition, it wasn't just new member joins faction, everything continues normally. No, this feels different. Jacob Fatu doesn't walk like someone trying to fit into a system, he walks like the system should adjust to him. And when you put that kind of energy inside something as tightly controlled as the bloodline, you don't get harmony, you get friction, and friction always becomes heat, and heat eventually burns something down. You've probably noticed it in small moments, a hesitation here, a stare that lasts half a second too long there, the kind of subtle stuff that WWE doesn't need to explain because fans already feel it in their gut. And Roman Reigns, he sees it too. That's the scary part because the tribal chief doesn't miss things like this, but now he's in that awkward space where seeing the problem and solving it are two completely different things. It's like watching someone try to steer a ship while the crew is quietly arguing in the background about where they're actually going, and nobody wants to say it out loud first. That's how factions fall apart, not betrayal right away, not a big explosion, just silence where communication used to be. Now let's slow it down a bit and look at Roman himself because he doesn't look panicked, not yet, but he does look more calculated than usual, like every interaction now has extra weight behind it. Every conversation feels like it has a second meaning hidden underneath the words, and that's not the Roman we're used to. The Roman we're used to doesn't need to overthink things, he sets the tone and everyone else adjusts. But now he's adjusting too, and that's the detail people are missing. When the leader starts reacting instead of leading, the structure starts to tilt, and you can't always fix that with intimidation or presence. At some point leadership becomes about trust, and trust inside the bloodline feels shaky. You might think it's just faction tension, it happens all the time in wrestling, but this isn't normal tension. This feels like competing forces inside the same family trying to decide who the future actually belongs to, and when that question enters the room, nothing stays the same. Because here's the thing nobody says out loud, Roman Reigns built the bloodline on dominance, but dominance doesn't automatically create loyalty, it creates obedience, and obedience only lasts until someone strong enough decides they don't need permission anymore. Now look at Jacob Fatu in that context. You see the problem? He doesn't feel like someone who needs validation, and that makes him unpredictable in a way that can't be controlled by status alone. So now Roman is in a position he hasn't been in for a long time. He's not just managing challengers from the outside, he might be managing pressure from the inside too. And that is a slow burn situation, not something that flips overnight, but something that builds so quietly that by the time it finally breaks, fans are already arguing about when it actually started. Was it the first disagreement? Was it the first ignored order? Was it the first time someone didn't look at Roman when he spoke? That's the part that makes this interesting, you don't know where the crack begins until it spreads. And Roman is trying to hold it together with presence alone, but presence can only go so far when the foundation starts shifting. And think about this for a second, what happens when the bloodline stops fearing consequences and starts questioning direction? That's a completely different problem because fear can be restored, but belief, once that's gone, you're not leading anymore, you're negotiating. And Roman Reigns as a negotiator is not the character we've been watching all these years. Now look at the vibe inside the group, because if you've been paying attention, it doesn't feel unified anymore. It feels compartmentalized, like everyone is standing in the same room but not the same conversation. And that's how factions drift apart without officially breaking up. Nobody announces anything, nobody declares betrayal, they just stop aligning naturally, and suddenly every moment becomes a test instead of a routine. Even simple interactions start feeling like chess moves, and fans pick up on that faster than the show ever admits. You know how wrestling fans are, we notice everything, a pause, a hesitation, a look that lasts too long, and then we build entire theories like detectives who haven't slept properly but somehow connect every detail. And honestly, we're not wrong most of the time because storytelling like this depends on those tiny moments. Now imagine Roman trying to manage all of that while also dealing with a new internal force that doesn't naturally align with the old structure. That's where things get complicated because at some point he's going to have to make a decision, and decisions like this inside the bloodline are never clean. They're personal, emotional, and they usually come with consequences that don't disappear after the match is over. So the question becomes, does Roman try to tighten control even more, or does he adapt to what the bloodline is becoming? And here's where it gets interesting because adapting means admitting change is happening, and admitting change inside a system built on absolute dominance is dangerous. It cracks authority, it opens doors, and once those doors open you don't always control what walks through them. Right now everything still looks stable on the surface, but underneath it feels like a countdown nobody has officially acknowledged. And Jacob Fatu being in the mix just accelerates that pressure, not because he's labeled as anything, but because he represents unpredictability inside a system designed to eliminate it. And that never ends quietly. So yeah, Roman Reigns might still be standing at the center of everything, but the center doesn't mean control anymore, it just means visibility, and everyone can see him now, including the ones who might not be fully listening anymore. And that's the part that should make fans lean in a little closer, because when the bloodline finally shifts, it won't feel like a storyline twist, it'll feel like a structure giving way, and we might already be hearing the early cracks. Anyway, I want to know what you think about this. Do you feel Roman is still fully in control, or are we already watching that control slip without him fully realizing it? Drop your thoughts in the comments because some of you catch details even I miss sometimes. And if you're still here, I appreciate you for watching and sticking through this breakdown. If you enjoyed it, like the video and subscribe for more wrestling deep dives like this. But yeah, something tells me this is only the beginning of a much bigger shift, and I'll catch you in the next one.